to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
That's it, Kelly. Call this regular board meeting to order. Roll call. Peter and Kelly are excused. Everybody else is present. No agenda changes that I know of. Next we have consent agenda. The December 20th, 2018 regular board meeting minutes. License permits for temporary operators license. Jay Fleming, Emily Fleming, and Kevin Boyle. Then a temporary Class B retailer's license, Polar Bear Riders Snowmobile Club, February 2nd, 2019 on Black Otter Lake.
There's just a couple little spelling errors in the minutes. Maybe correct them and then we'll approve them.
Okay.
Under clerk treasurer, the preliminary audit, it says Carter Rose was Bert. Okay, did you mean here?
Yes.
And then under the chief of police, it was just server. That's the only two things I noticed.
Oh, okay. I will correct those. Thank you.
Then I'll make a motion to approve pending the changes Jeannie recommended for Stongers.
I'll second it.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Approved. There's no public hearing. Assume there's no pre-registered citizens.
No.
Committee reports, library board.
New employees started Monday, and they have an in-service on the 21st. That's about all I have.
Any questions or comments for Pat? Hearing none, there's no unfinished business, so we'll move on to new business. Letter of understanding with Hortonville Youth Sports.
I'll take that. It's been a lengthy negotiation, but I think HYS, Public Works, and Sorensen are all content with the current letter of understanding. And I think we're ready to move forward and give them assurances that they got the park for the next 7 years or 6 years or whatever it is. Is there any questions on that? We really didn't change the pricing per year. We've typically let them, as long as they expend that amount on improvements up there. So we're going to continue that. The only real changes that were made to the agreement basically just clear up some of the, there's too many understandings here. We didn't lay it all out. Basically, some assistance with electrical bills while their coolers are in operation, and finally have it on paper that they're allowed to use the village's groomer, which they use for tournaments and stuff like that. It was always just simple handshake before, but we wanted to get everything on paper. So basically, most of the items on the second page are newer, but they just clarify some of the things that we were doing in the past. So there's not really any major changes, like I said, other than the reimbursement for electrical use while the coolers are in operation.
And then the school district, that's all
The school district's all done and everything.
cohesive with this and
Yeah. If you look at use of the park, some of the rules there were tightened up based on the school district's new agreement with the village. Talking about priority usage, that kind of stuff. That even after the school season, just in case the school's in the WIA tournament or playoffs and they need to practice, the school district gets priority usage.
okay.
So, but yeah, everybody seems pretty happy with the current agreement.
Do you need any action on this, or is this?
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion to authorize the village president to sign it.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? approved. Harder's garbage contract extension 2020 to 2024.
I'll take that one. If you go to the handout that I provided you, it'll be on the second page. So, what you're looking at is a breakdown. So the current contract that we're under started in 2014. It started at a base rate of $8.31 per residence per month. It was not to increase more than 3%. Currently, it has not exceeded that 3% benchmark. Talking with their billing, we are currently being billed at $9.22 per residence per month. So what happens is the village then is, the village bills each of the residents $10 per month. So we're still making approximately 78 cents per month on the collection of garbage. Knowing that the contract was coming to an end, we set up a meeting with the Harder's representative, asked for an extension, and then he gave us the starting point at $8.50 per month starting in 2020. Again, not to go past 3% annually for increase. If we got to year 5, it'd be at $9.84 per month per resident. Why we put this on the agenda is it is an excessive contract. We're asking either permission to accept this proposal, or if we want to put it out for other bids to other services such as inland regression, disposal. And then I put a note on the bottom. If we did accept the contract extension, we could change our assessment levels in the future. So essentially, we're buying 4 or 5 more years. And you can see by the graph breakdown, we'd be paying approximately the same amount until about 2023 that we are currently right now. So it's going to revert back, and then it'll gradually grow itself back up to that level. So we've been doing ourselves good for about 4 more years before we'd have to make a change. But it's at your discretion if you want us to send us out for another look from other providers, or if we want to just accept the contract extension.
So with all the new development we've got, it says on here the annual count for house count.
Correct.
So if we give them a count, they're just going to provide the containers, or we're
Correct.
purchasing those?
Correct. Carl actually said that we have a few. The containers are provided by Harder's. So, and that's the other caveat. If we go to a different provider, we have to assess each of the homes for a new canister.
Yeah.
So that was part of the reason that was built into that cost back in the day. So that allowed us to bargain down. Our discussion started in the $10 range, and we basically made him known that we've already paid for the cans. These people are using the same cans. There's no need for the building to include that.
So then, any new cans, like let's say I think of Wild Wind, I think of some of those bigger subdivisions.
Let them know they deliver.
They deliver. Okay.
There are some backlog at Public Works. If we need more, we just make a call and they'll deliver more.
Okay.
I think if we went with an RFP for new contracts, we would be rolling the dice.
Yeah.
Could come in a lot higher.
Yeah, I agree. I just want to make sure, because we've got a lot of new development.
Absolutely.
I think with Dave doing this, he's buying, like I said, he's buying you 4 years.
Yeah.
So we
And we
even
haven't had a
have
lot of complaints, have we, with Hardee's?
No, a little bit right off the bat, but it's been pretty quiet.
Yeah,
They've done a nice job in the last
Yeah.
2 years.
I think so too.
I know, as far as with my garbage can, some of the neighbors, they got damaged by the truck drivers. They replaced it free.
And it happens. I mean, when you're grabbing heavy cans and you're slamming them into trucks, things will break. So
Yeah,
end up on Main
because I
Street
used to
run
take
over.
those calls and people would say, I watched them, they slammed it down, and you would call in and they would say, okay, we'll be right out
Sure.
there. You know, and they always responded.
They were pretty good after the tornado too, wasn't it? I mean, I remember ours was, I know there were a lot of garbage receptacles floating in the lake. And I know people were
They didn't really complain with all about the brush and everything.
Yeah.
I didn't really see one complaint, I don't think.
At first, they were going to charge us, and then we, kind of talked to them and said,
I think
hey,
you did,
this was a
yeah.
disaster. Can you cut us some slack? And they were really good to our people. They
tornado-
replaced every one of those garbage cans that were blown away.
The tornado actually happened on garbage night. So everybody had theirs out on the curb, and then they ended up not square.
I mean, they've always been workable.
Yeah, so you're looking for a motion on that one as well?
Yeah, absolutely, we have some options. The contract is in your packet, so if you so choose to read the contract, that'd be fine, we have Al sign it at his convenience. Otherwise, if you want to put it out for another bid, we'd entertain that as well, because it is north of $5,000. You know, it equates to, at that rate, $922 times 1,044. It's approximately a $10,000 check that the village writes monthly. So, but again, we think we did diligence buying essentially 4 years at the same rate. So, and he did make it very well known to us that prices have been going up for sanitation. So.
Has your, and then maybe you totally covered this, or maybe I'm just, did we talk about maybe, I know we talked like with recycling that they would do it certain days, but like any neighboring communities that they would do a contract, like a joint contract with?
We were gonna
go
go with Greenville, but Greenville renewed with them as well.
Okay.
So, because I don't know if you recall, but Greenville came on with them either a year before us, and we were gonna try and get together and get a good price, but Greenville renewed, and I assumed at a better rate, just like we did.
All right.
So like I said, we could go out for RFPs, but I think we'd be rolling the dice and
Yeah.
probably come up snake eyes. So I would stick with them, it's our recommendation.
I'd make a motion that we have Al go ahead and sign the contract with others. The way you've got it here.
I'll second that.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Approved. And we'll move on to resolution R-1-19, amend cemetery alcohol publication fees.
I'll take part of that. The cemetery fees, with everything else going up in price, we've had some increases for burials across the board. So I think just to stay in front of it and stay solid with the cemetery, that we're just going to raise the fees slightly. They're still reasonable, but we have to stay on top of it. Because there's going to become a day when we're full and we're going to have to rely on the money we have in the bank to take care of that cemetery. So as far as the alcohol fees, Jane, you'll have to take that.
Sure. Last year, after the publication fees, after the liquor license renewal, we were charging $35 per establishment. The publications actually costed $45 an establishment. So those rates need to be, we don't need to eat that cost of $10 per liquor license application. And then if they didn't get it on time, it was late, the single fee was $118 to publish it. So it's advantageous for them to get it in on time. And I think that needs to be raised, so it is actually what the cost of the publication is.
Carl, did you go up on all the cemetery fees or just certain ones?
Just certain ones.
Just certain ones?
Just certain ones.
Because to match Tony's cemetery, they raised the fees, so we had to match it. There was a few things we were losing money on if someone would have been buried. So we had to be able to at least...
There was, if there's probably 8 fees, we probably went up on 5 of them. Veterans, I don't think we touched that.
Veterans,
No wins.
Infants only went up $25 or $50. Like I said, we want to stay solid there and keep putting money back into the cemetery reserve fund. Because like I said, there's going to come a day when the village is going to have to start withdrawing that to take care of the cemetery. We just want to make sure it stays healthy. And the rates are reasonable. I haven't done a study lately, but we're on the lower end compared to like Alvin Memorial. They're quite a bit more expensive. I don't know, is there any other questions about cemetery or alcohol fees?
I'll make a motion then to accept our 0119.
It's R-1.
R-119.
I'll second that.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Approved. Application for vacating Wildwood Park.
I'll take this. That's why you have this up, right?
That is the most current now, after hearing from all but one resident.
Okay, so just as a refresher, we're looking to get rid of Wildwood Park. It's never been developed. The statute allows us to do that by getting a court order. Our concern, though, in just doing that was upon vacation, if the court agreed, it would revert to the original owner, which would be Marty Spryer. And we've had discussions with their family, and I now have the paperwork signed by them that they're agreeing that upon the vacation by the court, that they relinquish their reversionary interest without any compensation. And so that they will convey their interest to the village at that point. And the village would be in a position to redeed the properties to the various adjoining owners, consistent with an agreement that's in the works and pretty close.
Correct. I can give an update to that. So the Wildwood update, that's also on the same page as the Harder's. A letter was sent to all members of the Wildwood Village. We wanted to inform all residents, not just the adjacent property owners. So all members of Wildwood Village were sent a letter notifying them that the changes. On January 8th, the informational meeting was put in session here at Village Hall. What we did is have an open forum for primarily who was in attendance. There were a few outside of the adjacent landowners, but primarily 6 of the 9 property owners were in attendance. And we did an open forum. We allowed them to give us their concerns, wishes, demands, whatever. It was a very pleasant meeting. There was no arguing. Essentially, they knew this was coming. It's something that's been in the works, obviously, for 2 years, no making. We're just finishing it up this time. So Carl and I sat down on the map. We basically took their notes, made their ideas, came up with what they thought was a fair land division. Then, of course, I told them three of your neighbors are not in attendance. So the next day I drew a letter and sent it out, said this is what we're proposing. 2 of the 3 have come back and said, no, I am interested in some property, so we redivided it with their notes. Waiting here for one more person. We did give him a end-all be-all date of January 25th, so if we don't hear from him by next week, we're going to move forward. At that point, we're going to send that same letter back out to the adjacent property owners with our, what we're going to call our finalized certified survey map of the area, get everybody to agree on it. We'll give another week's time. At that point, then I'm going to turn it back over to Bob, and then we'll proceed with what we need to do to get it professionally mapped out and divided. So, and then whatever legal steps we have to take just to put it to rest.
Right.
So there's nothing. Go ahead.
And the legal costs and the surveying costs, we're not sure what they're going to come in at this point, but
Correct. They're all under the impression that it may cost them something, but we weren't going to give them that number yet. So that's going to be, when we find that number and we figure out what we're going to do, we're going to have a conversation with them, and we're going to put it before the board for approval in best case scenario. So,
one other thing, on the map here, if you notice the spokes that come out, those aren't easements, those are actually a part of the park, so, of the dedicated park area. And so the game plan is to eliminate those 2. So, those would just, be divided between the adjacent property owners, with one exception. The northeast spoke that, actually it's, you just see the part of it here, that's northeast of Parkview, and it goes up to Mystic Heights, just past my place. Because of the development in Mystic Heights and now with Book's property, we want to keep that owned by the village so that people can access from those developments by foot down to the park. Because, at this point, their only way would be...
do you see where you're speaking?
Like a walking trail or something.
Yeah. So the outside of the park, not inside the park, but the exterior.
Yeah, it's outside.
And is there anything in the Mystic Heights, development that mentions this at all, that?
There is property in Mystic Heights that connects to that trail. like I said, we want to keep that just in case the mixed development grows. We don't want kids walking on the MM. We'd rather they cut through a nice trail.
So at this point, there's nothing to, there's no motion, we just want it was just primarily put out for an update.
No, there is something I would like action on. So thanks. Two things. One is, in order for me to go to court, the statute says that the application to the court is made by the governing body of the municipality. So I'm going to do the paperwork on behalf of this board, but I do need a motion to proceed to apply to the circuit court for the vacation of park. And in conjunction with that, I do have the agreement that I referenced earlier that's been signed by the Breyer family, and I'm hoping that Al and Jane can sign on behalf of the village. Again, it just indicates that the public park will be vacated, subject to court approval, and upon vacation, that the lands will then be deeded from the Breyers to the village. And thereafter, the village controls it and may convey the real estate to be combined with neighboring lots as it decides in the village's sole discretion, so that the village may transfer the real estate in parts to grantees of its choosing, and that Mrs. Breyer is relinquishing her reversionary interest without the receipt of any further compensation. So I'd like approval of that agreement as well, so that that can be signed. So those two things, approval of that agreement with Breyers and authorizing application to circuit court.
Oh, that's two motions?
They can be combined. Question?
No, I was just gonna say, I make that motion. If you have all that, Jane, or do you want me to repeat all of that?
I have it, I think.
Yeah, I don't think, it can be one motion.
I was just trying to,
It's
in my
kind of
head,
go hand in hand.
reverse it, and I couldn't remember.
Okay, motion's made, do we have a second?
No second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Approved.
Thank you.
Any other miscellaneous topics for further discussion?
I wanted to just bring up, I know it's snowing, but farmer's market for next summer. We had a I talked with Stellmachers, who, I don't know if anybody stopped down at Donaldson's to the farmer's market at all this summer, but they have a CSA farm outside of town, and they would like to continue farmer's market. They have other people that are interested in possibly having it in a more accessible location. Donaldson's has a nice parking lot, but it's, around the corner. They let them use the parking lot on Saturday mornings, but, so just if we could just discuss that at some point.
I have a couple of ideas, so that'd be nice to get that on the
Yeah.
agenda. Yeah.
Thank you.
That's something for a future. Any other topics for future discussion? Hearing none, we'll move on to report of village officials, administrator.
From your handout. First one, the Aging Disability Resource Center contract for the Opera House has been renewed for 2019. We did have to mention a defined contribution, which Carl and I set at $10,500, which is up $700 from 2018. Having our meeting this week with the senior board. I put on the agenda, I just want to mention this too, for Feb. 7th, we need to talk about possibly service providers to the Opera House at that time with the ADRC. So that'll be, I just wanted to enlighten you, that was something that Pat and I discussed a little bit. So just to mention that we'll be discussing that on the February 7th, of bringing external services to the Opera House in conjunction with the new site. Been a busy couple of past weeks here. Carl and I have devoted a lot of attention to infill with village lots. So as you can see, I've had meetings with Van Wyken, Dennis Maloney, Boardwalk Builders, Lexington Homes, and a couple of realtors in town. Happy to report, in the last 2 weeks, we've sold 9 residential lots that have been sold. So we're expecting a plethora of development to start in the spring. Myself, Carl, Jane, and Chief Brownson have been working on the personnel manual. We have approximately half of it revised. Temporary time frame there is we want to have it to Bob by early February, then off to you for your approval. We do have a COW, Committee of the Whole, set for March 7th, and hopefully for final board approval on March 21st. So, speaking with everybody involved, I think the timeline should be okay. Carl and I also met with Kathy Tunis of the Central Regional Planning Commission. You got to give me the background on the map amendments.
On our comprehensive map, it's a comprehensive plan map.
2035
comprehensive plan map. There was an error in labeling of some land out towards Double M. Basically, it was had the wrong classification on it. So we're just got to go in and clean that up, but you still have, because it's a comprehensive plan, you have to go through an entire step, the public hearing and all that good stuff to do that. So it's pretty simple and straightforward. We're going to have that at the next meeting, I believe. No, we're going to go to planning and zoning.
Yeah, it's actually set for February 21st at 5:30, prior to one of our village board meetings. So Nathan has done the diligence in calling the members. I'm thinking most of them have replied, correct?
I called 3, I sent emails to the ones that I could.
Okay. Okay.
So I got your email on that.
Okay. Moving on. I reported in October that the AT&T contract was renewed. Unfortunately, when we got the bill, it was, much to our surprise, it was not a $3 increase as quoted. It went from $7 per line to $16.25 per line, which is substantial when you have 19 active lines in the village. So it's been about 2 or 3 weeks of constant going back and forth. Just today, we noticed, we were served notice that we had to take 5 lines out of the mix to make it a feasible contract. So one from the court, one from wastewater treatment plant, 2 from the police department, and 1 from administration office were eliminated. That dropped the bill $80 per month, which got us to approximately $250 a month, up from $199. We view that as since the contract is 3 years outdated, a reasonable increase in services. However, we were served notice today that we're looking at a $4,800 credit to our phone bill for our issues that we've had. So, not sure how they can do it, but yeah, so we may be looking at a 3-year phone services here. So I'm not going to complain if it comes through and it comes to fruition. So whatever, we'll take it. So when that contract comes through, I will put that in front of you as well for approval. So this is Nathan's baby here, and I give him credit where credit's due. We're continuing to mainstream our payment services for taxes, utilities, rentals, fines, water, and sewer bills. We've had one webinar with PayNet as a provider. We have also set up the remaining 2 with Point and Pay as well as PSN. We are trying to find the best venue to have all of our, any and all monies that will come into the village or police or court received via credit or debit card rather than cash or check. It's just the way the future's kind of moving. So we are working on getting the best, not only for us, but for the customers as well. So it's just, we're taking as many webinars as we can to learn what's going to be the best tool for the village moving forward.
Can I just say, we had issues with Point and Pay at the Nature Center. You might want to check that out.
And that's tomorrow, correct? Or is that
No,
next week?
no, that's the PSN.
PSN, okay.
Point and Pay sent us their little
Webpage.
today and kind of showed us.
So what kind of issues? Not that we should be talking about it.
Hard to get into the system, and saying you needed to change your password all the time without being notified. So, it was really difficult, especially with multiple people using it, volunteers and everything. So, it might be okay if only one person uses it, but I would just use caution with that. Maybe ask around if anybody else uses it.
No, I heard that Julie worked at Town of Grand Chute, and they have the same system. And she said, yeah, the passwords, you just gotta keep up on they change for security reasons constantly.
I get that, yeah, it's
Yeah,
just that
so-
they don't tell you that to update it, all of a sudden you can't get in, so at least it half does.
Yeah, we're gonna ask plenty of questions. Like I said, our goal is to make it not only easy and user-friendly for the staff, but as well as the people using it that call in or walk in to use it as well, so. Next bullet point, Carl and I discussed this, and I did mention it to Al earlier in the week. We granted Paul Hanlon permission in front of a Planning and Zoning Commission meeting, or an Economic Development Committee meeting. SCP Corporation is building a 2,000 square foot cover shed. So essentially, it's a shed adjacent to their current property, primarily used to store wood in before they build their products. And the reason he wanted to expedite this is because they broke ground the next day. So if we would have had to put it in front of an Economic Development Committee meeting, it would stall it out probably 30 to 45 days. So upon looking at the plan that Paul's submitted, Carl and I looked at it, it really has nothing with setbacks, nothing that would cause any alarm for the village, so we told him to proceed. So I just want to make you aware of that. I am well aware of the policies that are in place, and we will honor those. It was just, we just thought it would be the best practice to keep that contractor moving when they had a cancellation, so.
One part of that next economic development meeting, we should probably let them know that
Yes.
this was done.
Yes. Okay. West Wind update, which is Mr. Richard Kinnison and David Brown. We did get an initial stormwater engineering proposal. Unfortunately, it came back at 5 times the estimate of original cost dating back in 1991. So we are working with the Wisconsin DNR, what they call maximum extent practical, and then we're trying to either do that or get an infill designation to minimize the exposure that the developer would see installing stormwater services to that area. We are really trying to renegotiate or reestablish that subdivision to get those 17 lots built out. So we're doing a lot of the preliminary work to make it easier for Mr. Kinnison, and that way we have the answers for him moving forward and how he has to re-engage with the DNR to get his development back on track. So we're kind of back to the drawing board. Last week we hosted the Fox West Chamber. Approximately 32 members were in attendance here. External meetings for me this period, Carl and I and Ryan St. John attended the Emergency Management Consortium for Allegheny County. Carl has been working on his storm management plan. I'm sure he'll address that in his review. Myself and Nathan, we did it last week. We attended the Town of Ellington board meeting. That's just my efforts to meet our neighbors. I also did an East Central Wisconsin Regional Planning Strong Neighborhoods program in Green Bay last week. As we continue to build out, and especially with the downtown planning, those meetings are going to become vital for how we build out downtown. Also did a planners meeting in Appleton last week. That with Paul Hanlon was also in attendance, so him and I discussed a lot of the movings of the village. And then just this week I took in the Town of Dale board meeting as well. Again, just to put myself out there to meet our neighbors and let them know that we're here as an ally. So, and then part 3 of 4 for the Connect Community webinars I did last week, and I will let you know that we'll be also doing a roundtable next week, which I'll report on our next meeting. So that's it for me.
Any questions for David? Hearing none, we'll move on to clerk treasurer.
Okay, I'm sure you've all heard by now, there is no spring primary. And the April election, there will be Justice of the Supreme Court, Circuit Court District 3, and a possible constitutional amendment on the ballot regarding the Victims' Bill of Rights, also known as Marcy's Law. And that's pretty much all I have.
Any questions for Jay? Hearing none, we'll move on to Director of Public Works.
On the handout I passed around, you'll notice under the Grandview Road project, I have the wrong date on there. It should be January 21st. I had made this up and then we had changed the date after I made it up, sorry. But yeah, January 21st, which is next Monday, we're gonna have a public information meeting here for the residents and others out on the affected residents out on Grandview Road. Again, we're gonna, MSA engineers are gonna present the 60% designs. We're gonna answer questions and stuff like that.
Are you wanting board members at that meeting?
No, but I did post it. If you want to show up, you can.
Should we let you know so you could do a possible quorum notice, or?
It's in the board meeting minutes.
It is.
Yeah, we're covered there.
Okay.
We're right with the agenda.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
So again, it's a straight road, but we are going to take some land right around the curve, so that resident's already okay with it. But again, we're just going to answer questions. I'm sure a lot of them might have to do with assessment, stuff like that. So we'll try to answer them as best we can, but we really won't know anything until it goes out for bids and they both come out. So, just what you wanted to hear, more assessment stuff. All right. The next one is, this is the year we do our biennial dam inspection. I'll be coming back later asking, once I get some quotes, I'll be asking for funds out of the dam reserve fund to cover that. Next week, I also host the Regional Urban Forestry Work Group. Basically, Parks Department and other urban foresters from throughout northeast Wisconsin will be coming over here to our facility and having a meeting. And in February, me and Chris Schultz, our Parks employee, we're going to be attending the Wisconsin Arborists Association Conference. And I also have just an update on well 2. Should be online any day now. I think if you can follow through what I wrote on there, some of the items we've done and what we're going to be required to do from here on out. We're going to have a procedures for quarterly agitation, some sampling, yearly shocking, but the well's going to be set up so you can do that. It'll only be offline temporarily every quarter while you shock it and aerate it. So, but the water is cleaned up considerably. That's about all I have.
Any questions or comments, Carl? Hearing none, we'll move on to police department.
Last week I hosted the executive chiefs meeting for the sheriff's department and all the police chiefs throughout Allegheny County meet at one place every month. So we met here at our police department at our community center here. They said it was just a beautiful place, lots and lots of compliments. We walk through a lot of them. We do tours of the departments just to compare, you know, your department with another department or maybe get an idea from somebody. So we got a lot of compliments with the whole thing. They loved the library down here and just the way that everything was laid out. So, and then we did the Drive Sober Get Pulled Over event that went from December 21st to January 1st. So participated in that. Hopefully they'll draw our name and we'll get a $4,000 grant, some grant money that we can, you know, maybe look at getting some speed boards or something like that in the village. They're a little costly, but if we can get them through participating in these grants here, we could put them up. Yeah, I know that if you drive into like Clintonville, you always see that sign right before you come up by 22 there. Those are the kinds of signs that we're looking for. They're just run by batteries and you change them out, so. But it's nice because it slows down your community. Our speeding is just horrible here. I've never seen anything like this. Our actual average traffic is 46 miles over the speed limit. So.
How much do regular speed limit signs cost? Just your standard post with a 25-mile-an-hour? Just out of curiosity, do you know how?
The signs themselves are probably anywhere from $60 to $80.
Okay.
Posts are about, these are better posts than you get at Menards. So they're about $25 a pop, sometimes up to 40. And then of course you got manpower. So you'll have about $200 into it by the time it's all said and done.
And then what if you put a flashing light on it?
Well, I like what she's looking at. The small ones, you know, we had the tow trailer.
Right.
we have that, but
Right.
I think she's looking at.
Better,
I
the
understand what you're saying, I just
And
meant that.
they're about $2,500, but what's nice about them is they can record, they can take pictures. So, and people would call and they'd say, oh, I drove past that speed board sign and I was doing, 7 miles over the speed limit. I'm really sorry, I didn't hit the brakes, and people, they're calling and they're apologizing because, so they do slow down traffic. It's kind of nice because they can count traffic too. So they can also tell you how heavy the traffic is on any given day at any given time. So it was nice for us in Shacton because we had people working till 2 o'clock in the morning and there was only 9 cars that came through town. Why do we have somebody working until 2 o'clock in the morning? So it's kind of nice to be able to use the signs, and that way then you knew what time you needed to be out there because the traffic was so heavy. So it's a great tool. You can download them, you can show them to your officers, you can show them to your boards, you can show them to the public that this is what's going on. People are saying, hey, the traffic's really, it's just absolutely crazy. We find out that it's not. There's not speeding, in a certain area. So other than that, we've been just busy. Kids are getting wild. I think they want to get out of school already. I don't know, but it's crazy. So we took 4 to jail already today. So not kids, a combination, but we've been just running. So I get done here, I gotta go back and write reports because we got any custodies. That's it. Waiting for more. I got nothing.
Any questions for Chris? Hearing none, did library director leave anything?
Nope, that was all, basically what I had.
Then Bob,
I have nothing for
building permit reports and
Is our packet?
it's in our packet.
Supporting.
I missed it when I looked through the
standards there.
Any questions on the building permit report? Hearing none, we'll move on to communication and miscellaneous business. Blackhawk Lake District news, we have nothing to report at this time. Hortonville, Hortonville Fire District, Kelly's not here, so I don't know if we have anything else.
No, just I've been contacted by Matt, so they did their reporting for 2% dues. They registered. We also got the information from Town of Liberty and Town of Latonia for Jane, so working on that. And then we received notification today from Kerber Rose of their audit dates. So I'll be in contact with Matt to make sure that they're on board for their paperwork to us by those days, March
234.
2, 3, 4, for Kerber Rose.
And Gold Cross ambulance reports in your packet. Any questions or comments on that? None. St. Peter's not here, Hortonville Civic, probably nothing. Senior activities,
We had a meeting yesterday, good attendance, just trying to do more collaboration with agencies, including the Y and the ADRC. I think David already mentioned the meal site. They would like to see numbers up. In fact, Outagamie County is the lowest percentage-wise in the state as far as attendance based on the need, as far as age group, I should say. So we're trying to figure out a way to let people know about the meal site and bring more programs there, either pre and post meal time, to hopefully get people involved, not just for the eating, but for the socialization, breaking isolation if there is that going on. We know there's a stigma to going to, meal sites, but we're trying to make it fun too. The December thing went well, so build on that. Also doing outreach and looking at options for transportation. And then collaboration between the library and UW Extension to include the senior group. So there's quite a bit going on.
and one of the other things that's with the meal site, I understand why they do it, that they have to call in at least 24 hours, before noon, the day before, but that has some to do with people also that don't think about it till the afternoon and it's too late to call in for
Yep.
tomorrow.
Yeah, but they have to plan for numbers, so it's hard.
Any questions or comments for Pat on senior activities? Hearing none, we don't have any citizens present, so next one up is adjournment.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second?
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned.